One. God.
Hey guys, this is Eric at CollectorMania. Welcome to our deck tech of Gideon Jura, Archenemy. What we're doing here is part of our Morph into Commander series. The new Archenemy Nicol Bolas arrives Friday,
Yep.
right, Steve? Yeah. So in a few days.
Release on Friday.
Yes, release is Friday. We've already done our Nicol Bolas deck tech. We're doing the Gideon Jura side of things for this one. That's the Planeswalker I had chosen, and what we're doing here is a little bit different, kind of breaks the Commander rules. We're taking the Planeswalker, which you normally could not use as a commander, making it our commander, similar to the C14 commanders, and then kind of building around there with as much cards from the Archenemy as we can. And then we're going to showdown after we've done the regular product review, that sort of thing. So, like I said, I've chosen Gideon Jura. Pretty good card, of course, from Rise of Eldrazi in M12. And then we're going to kind of go into our first section of cards here, just highlighting a few. We've got pretty much all Gideons that exist in the game. Our first, or maybe my first choice would have been normally Gideon of the Trials. He's a really great card, white for M1. He's got a +1, a 0, and a 0 with 3 loyalty, and the big reason I'd probably consider using him, it would be kind of unfair, I think, is his minus, or his plus, I guess neither. His second 0 ability is the, you get an emblem. As long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker, you cannot lose a game and your opponents cannot win. So he'd be a really good choice if you kind of bend the rules like we said. He'd probably be better than Gideon Jura.
Gideon Tribal?
Yeah, but definitely a Gideon Tribal theme, and even a Gideon Tribal like flavor / name card theme. We'll get into that here in just a sec. But yeah, there's 6 Gideon Planeswalkers at the moment, so hopefully I'll have one of those in my 100 cards at all times. And he's really good. Gideon's the Trials. Of course, moving through things, Gideon Ally of Zendikar, really great from BFZ. Kytheon / Gideon Battleforge is a good one. Gideon Champions of Justice, and then the one from the Amonkhet intro pack, Gideon Martial Paragon. So rounding out the Planeswalker set there. The whole idea there is we're just trying to get as many Gideons as we can to kind of keep the flavor. Moving on our next section, I've kind of named flavored / named cards. The first card we'll start with here is Anointed Procession. Really great enchantment for 3 and a white. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that number. Really good. The reason for that, we've got kind of a soldier sub-theme here. Gideon kind of, in a lot of his flavor text and cards, kind of brings people up with some advice. He'll say something wise or whatever, kind of talk about combat. Some of our tricks have some really cool flavor text, like it's really good. And then, dealing with the tokens and stuff is really good. Steve and I always kind of talk about some cards that are probably going to be pricey in the future. I know Amonkhet is probably the most printed set at the moment, but anything that says double something good, you should pick up, I think, especially if you play White and Soldiers. So, Anointed Procession there. We've got some other ones from the unique cards, Champion of the Trial, or Companion of the Trial, excuse me. One that came with that Gideon Martial Paragon. The next one we'll talk a little bit about here is Gideon's Phalanx. 5 and 2 white instant, put 4 2/2 Knight Soldier creatures with Vigilance into the battlefield, and if you've got Spell Mastery, which is 2 or more instants or sorceries in the graveyard, they get indestructible. So really good spell. Hopefully that can save somebody's bacon late game. And it's got a really cool picture of Gideon on there as well. Some that I skipped, some of those named cards with Gideon, Gideon's Avenger, Gideon's Intervention, Gideon's Reproach and Resolve. The whole reason there is we've just got the name Gideon on it, essentially. We wanted to kind of keep that theme going.
Lots of flavor.
Yes, lots of flavor, hopefully. And we'll see if Kylie and Bobby built that way. I know Steve has kind of got a brutal Nicol Bolas deck, which is just Grixis good stuff with dragons and make your opponents hate their life. So, moving forward, another really kind of cool card that I did not even know about until I read some of the other cards I knew about it, I just didn't put 2 and 2 together, is Hixus Prison Warden. He is a 3 and 2 white legendary human soldier with flash. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, if Hixus Prison Warden enters the battlefield on your turn, exile that creature until this guy leaves play. Apparently Hixus trained Gideon in his abilities, and you'll see that on some of these other cards, but definitely a neat one. I thought I'd throw it in there for flavor as well. Knight of the Pilgrim Road, another one with some flavor. Kytheon's Irregulars, of course. Oath of Gideon from Oath of the Gatewatch. that one's got to be in there, I'd say. Hopefully the other guys did that too. Aegis Angel, one that came in the kit as well, so I'm keeping that in there. Same with Fiend Slayer, Gideon's Lockkeeper, Grasp of the Hieromancer, and Shoulder to Shoulder. I think those might also have some Gideon flavor text in the bottom. Check out the deck list for those, and then of course our slideshow here. Our next set we're going on to is pretty short, but is just our tutor segment. The first two I'll talk about here are just some kind of Planeswalker tutors. First we've got Call the Gatewatch. So search your library for a Planeswalker, reveal it, and put it into your hand for 2 and a white at sorcery speed. Pretty good. Probably going to get that Gideon of the Trials out and just get an emblem really quick. Similar, we have Deploy the Gatewatch for 4 and 2 white sorcery. Look at the top 7, grab up to 2 Planeswalkers and put them into play? Into the battlefield, yeah. And the rest on the bottom in a random order. This one's not as good in a like tribal Gideon. Of course, digging up 2 of them will kill 1 of them. So better in a deck where you've got multiple Planeswalkers, of course, but a little bit more Planeswalker dig. Kind of expensive. And then, of course, lastly, Enlightened Tutor, a really great tutor for enchantments or artifacts. If you run white and you have an enchantment or an artifact that you want consistently, you should definitely put in like an Enlightened Tutor. Pretty much any tutor in your colors is good advice. There are some that aren't so great, but finding the cards you need, especially in a pinch, is awesome. The next segment we're going to move on to here is our tricks, or what I've called tricks. Just some kind of stuff. A lot of these cards came from a Darien deck that I have, just because they're good staple white cards. First one we'll talk about here is Angel's Grace. For a single white and instant speed split second, you cannot lose the game, and your opponents can't win until end of turn. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So, really great card. Good trick, especially if we're anticipating Steve to kill us all. Maybe I can stay alive, he's tapped out, and I can kill him on the swing back. We'll see. But
Thanks for telling me your plan.
Yes. Nuts. Luckily, you can't respond to it. That's what I was just about to say. Split Second is like, it's one of those abilities that almost breaks the game, and you want it on your side as much as you can. You think of Crows and Grip. You think of Word of Seizing. Some of these cards we talk about so often, and not losing the game with very little, almost nothing that your opponents can say about it is awesome. So, Angel's Grace, great include, especially in mono white. Blind Obedience, from some Extort, it's not bad. Unfortunately, there's only one opponent, but having artifacts and creatures your opponents control come in tapped is really good. Inspiring Charge, another one with just some flavor text. It's a good trick as far as getting +2/+1 to all my creatures. Launch the Fleet is one of my favorites from Journey to Nyx. It's got a strive cost. But whenever something swings, put a soldier in swinging with it as well. And then the last one I'll talk about here in the trick segment is Rootborn Defense. For 2 a white and an instant, you can populate, so get a copy of a token that you already have. And then creatures you control are indestructible until end of turn. So really good. I can't remember if Steve's got any board wipes in his Nicol Bolas deck, but he's searching database as well. Yeah, I'm sure he does. So like Grixis, that'll happen. But Indestructible might show him. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to move on to our removal kind of segment here. Pretty typical mono white commander stuff. A steer command for that modal removal of artifacts, enchantments, creatures with converted cost 3 or more, or 3 or 4 or greater. So definitely a really good one there. Celestial Flare is a cool one. It's not super great. Double white, instant. Target player sacrifices an attacking, blocking, or blocking creature. Excuse me. Of course, it's got some Gideon flavor text on it as well, and some cool art. Hopefully that'll be helpful. Sacrificing is a good way around destruction. If something's indestructible, you can't destroy it, but that your opponent can definitely sacrifice it, especially if they're trying to beat you down with it. So, Celestial Flare, a good include there. Martial Coup, putting in some soldiers and a board wipe is a really great one. Oblivion Ring, there's some better versions, especially ones on creatures, but Oblivion Ring is a great way to just remove a permanent. Oust is one that I want to focus on here a little bit. Single white sorcery speed, so not so great as far as it'd be awesome if it were an instant, but it would be insane. Put target creature into its owner's library second from the top. Its controller gains 3. The idea here, of course, hopefully that image has got Gideon's flavor text on it. It says invincible is just a word. I think that's super cool. But if Steve's got something really big that he's beating us all down with, hopefully I can just send it away in a main phase and then clear the road for everybody to swing through. So oust. Our typical like targeted exile, Path to Exile here. Great card, kind of expensive, but a really huge staple. Can even be used. We saw it in our top 8 on yourself to get a land. Exile target creature, its controller may search its library for a basic land and put it into play and shuffle. So, great card, especially with the exile, man. Renounce the Guilds is another one. I don't know if I put it on the list, but might be a trick. White in 1 instant. Each player sacrifices a multicolored permanent. That could only hit Steve with his Nicol Bolas Kit deck or Kiley with his blue-green. So hopefully that he's only got blue or green on the table at the time, but should hopefully help. Smite the Monstrous, another good one, destroy target creature with 4 or greater power. And then the last one I'll focus on here is Suppression Bonds. For 3 colorless, 1 white enchantment. Enchanted a non-land permanent. The enchanted permanent can attack or block. Its activated abilities cannot be activated. So the idea here is this is going to hopefully find its way to a Nicol Bolas Godpharaoh Planeswalker, shut him down a little bit, and hopefully be hard to remove. And it's got some cool flavor text on here from Warden Hixus to Kytheon. So again, kind of playing on that flavor thing there. And then our last one, similar to Path to Exile, we have Swords to Plowshares. Our next one, we're moving on. Kind of a basic ramp package here. If you're familiar with the colors in Magic, white kind of isn't. They're not as good at it, I'd say. Black has some like resources to mana ramp. Green, of course. White has some, but it's usually conditional, and we'll see those here. First, the Burnished Heart. Really good creature. If you don't have one, you should probably get one. I was lucky enough to open a pack foil one. It was just super cool. And one of my favorite cards is Endless Horizons. If we look at it, 3 and a white, an enchantment. When it comes into play, search your library for any number of planes and remove them, and shuffle. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may draw a card from these removed planes and put it into hand. So what this does, for a certain number of turns, it'll fix your land drops, essentially. The trick here is, if you get this destroyed and you've exiled all your planes, you won't have any left in your deck. So usually I'll grab like a non-greedy number of like 6 to 8. You know, I think there's 18 planes in the deck. But this one's really good for fixing that. I think it does say basic, right?
Yeah, it does.
Or it just says, oh yeah, planes cards. It's capital P.
Oh, so I guess you could grab dual ones.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
So not too bad. The one bummer, I like to foil out stuff. This came from my Darien deck, of course, and it's kind of pricey, and the foil's just up there now, which is a bummer. But a great card, especially for white. Going into Expedition Map, just some search for any specific land, which is really great. Everybody, if you have a good utility land that you may count on, an Expedition Map should be part of your deck. Gauntlet of Power, just some mana doubling abilities here. I've even put it in here, like if one of my allies is behind and just stuck, I might even just throw it down naming their color just to like get them back in the fight against Nicol Bolas. So we'll see if that comes into play. Gift of Estates, a really good one. If you're behind on land, you can search and add 3 planes to your hand, so you're fixing again a little bit there. Again, it's conditional. You've got to be behind though. Another one that's conditional, Knight of the White Orchid, really awesome. Great art. We talked about this one before. First strike, 2/2 for 2 white. Human Knight, when he comes into play, if an opponent has more lands than you can search your library for planes and put it into play. So definitely a good one. Moving on, one type of card that I think every monocolor, maybe even dual color deck should run is the Medallion series from Old Tempest and then C14. Pearl Medallion, 2 colorless, artifact, white spells cost 1 less, so there's one for each color type. Just imagine playing your commander 1 turn sooner, or if you've got something that normally would compete with your commander slot, you might play that first, then then your commander, excuse me. It's just good. Even in a dual color deck, it's awesome. Of course, there's that artifact seal, the Guild Pact or whatever, where you name 2. So you could have all 3 of those in a dual color deck. Maybe not as good for a tricolor deck unless you have a lot of all of your spells cost all 3 of your color types, but you can kind of test those out as well. Soul Ring, great staple for some mana acceleration for 1, you can get 2, and then Solemn Simulacrum to kind of round out the ramp package. When he comes in, search for a basic land, put it in tapped, and then when he dies, draw a card for 4. Pretty good. After that, we're going to move on to our utility / draw section. Pretty simple here, Elixir of Immortality. Once this is out, you can gain some life if you need to, and of course shuffle in your library, which is super important to kind of keep you going late game. Relic of Progenitus is a good one that you should always hit at the end of your turn, or end of your the person right in front of you's turn. Just remove a card from your graveyard, and now we've only got one person to deal with, so removing a card from their graveyard will eventually wear their graveyard down. One I'll talk about here is Sculpting Steel. Three cost artifact, which can pretty much clone an artifact. Really great card. If you've got something super powerful, like I love the Gauntlet of Power, you can get a second one. If I've got one to help Kiley or Bobby, I can play this like on myself and get a copy for me again. If Steve's beating us down, I think there's a Mindslaver in his deck, which is super mean. I could maybe take over Nicol Bolas's turn. So if you've got a space for a colorless artifact, you should include Sculpting Steel because it's awesome. Next, we'll move on to Mind's Eye. For 5, an artifact, whenever an opponent draws, you can draw by paying 1. It's really good. A little less useful in this because I'm only going to have one opponent, which is Nicol Bolas, of course. And but in a normal game, it's a great card. It's probably the tippity top of card draw in colorless, I would say. Moving on, we've got Sensei's Divining Top for 1. Great card. It's on the same level as Sol Ring. It's almost a no-duh. Luckily, maybe unluckily if you play Legacy, I guess. Recently banned. It dropped about $5 to $7, I think. So pick up Sensei's Tops. They are good. I remember the days when these were like $7 cards, and that was when we opened here in about 2011. And since then, it's just been up and up. I think even up to $30. But drawing. Having the chance to draw, doing the top swap, draw a card and replace the top on top. If you're in trouble, and then of course, end of your next player's turn, you just take a look at the top 3, set up your draw. Amazing card.
Before your draw stuff.
Yeah, before your draw, yeah, it's great. And then Staff of Nin, really good one. You get an extra draw during your turn. It's a little expensive at 6, but you can deal a damage. It's awesome for planeswalkers or little annoying creatures that you can take out with 1 damage. So just kind of rounding out the draw package there. Next, we're going to go into the mean and potatoes segment of the deck. Just quickly, we got Archangel of Thune. Lifelink, whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So really good with the soldier synergy there as far as hopefully I'm going to be gaining some life and then pumping everything up, making things more of a threat. Our focus card here, we have Baneslayer Angel, 2 white, 3 creature Angel, flying first strike, lifelink, protection from dragons and from demons. I took a look at Steve's deck when I did his deck tech. He's got some dragons in there. So, yeah, and he said some demons as well. So definitely, she was a beast back in the day too. Just a good card. Moving forward, we have Benelish Commander. He is a 3 and a white creature, human soldier lord. Just a suspend ability, which means you remove it with a number of counters on that. Every turn you remove a suspend counter, and when there's 0, this creature comes into play. With the suspend, though, whenever you remove a counter, you put a white soldier into play. So you can just dump some mana in this in 1 turn, incrementally get some guys out. He doesn't have another ability, right? Power and toughness are equal to the number of soldiers you control. So you're kind of beefing him up at the same time and giving yourself an army as he arrives, that sort of thing. And again, fits that soldier theme. Call for Unity, new enchantment from Aether Revolt. 2 white and 3. It's got Revolt at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you control left the battlefield, put a counter on it, and creatures get ++ for that. So good kind of like buff throughout the board. Captain of the Watch, Vigilance soldiers have +1 in Vigilance, and you put in 3 tokens is really good. Some other ones like Champion of the Parish, some human synergy, and putting some counters on him. One of my favorite cards that's, a really good soldier lord is Field Marshal. It's only been printed twice, I think, Cold Snap and 10th edition. Other soldiers get +1 in first strike for 3, not too bad, and a 2/2. So some more soldier synergy there. And then one of my other favorites from the White Weenie days was Mobilization. For 2 a white, it's an enchantment. Soldier creatures have vigilance, and for 2 a white, you can put in a soldier into play. So again, some more synergy there, some more bodies, a great sync. Sometimes at the end of your turns, or when it's about to become your turn again, it's a good idea to just kind of dump stuff into that, get some soldiers, and untap for the next turn. So Serene Master, exchanging whenever Stream Master blocks, exchanges power with the power of a creature it's blocking until end of combat. Definitely a good one. Some ones that are in the deck that I kept in there. Light Wielder Paladin, Mentor the Meeks with some more small creature synergy. Audric with some keyword synergy. Audric says if a creature has X ability, all creatures have X ability. So really great one there. Precinct Captain and Sun Titan. Sun Titan's, oh man, so good. Especially, again, I love playing monocolor decks. If you play a mono white deck, you should probably run your Titan in Sun Titan. Whenever he comes in, get a CMC 3 or less card from the graveyard back into play, right? Mm-hmm. And then when he attacks, does the same thing. All those Titans are super good, unless you're playing green. Poor Primeval Titan.
Why does he have to be banned? Well,
he's real good.
We all understand why.
Yes. Play your Titans. That's what I'll say. And then our last segment here, we're going to move on to the lands. Just a good utility land package here. We have a Maria Sky Ruin. If you have 7 planes in play, you can get a creature from graveyard into the battlefield. So hopefully that'll be active. Homeward Path is one card that I always tell people about. It's unfortunately kind of pricey at $7 or $8, I think. It's got a few reprints, so hopefully in the next Commander series we'll get one of those. But it is a great card. Each player gains control of each creature she owns. So if somebody, Nicol Bolas, has Slave of Bolas, your best card, you can get it back hopefully. Or everybody's stuff. Homeward Path, if you've got the space in your deck, I think you need one. The worst thing is losing to one of your own cards. So I think solve that problem and get a Homeward Path. One that I really love, again from my Darien deck, is the Keldoran Outpost from Old Alliance. And I guess it's got a Vintage Masters reprint. Steve's got the image there for you. The art is beautiful. I'd never seen it before. But the one here says when Keldoran Outpost comes into play, sacrifice a plains or bury it. You can add a white, which is good. It's not a colorless producer. And then for 1 white and a tap, you can put a soldier into play. So for a land, it creates a token for essentially 3 mana. I think that one's pretty good. And it's an older card that I don't think a lot of people know about. And it's got some soldier aspects to it. Just an awesome card. We've got some protection here during the combat step with Core Haven, prevent all damage that would be dealt by attacking creature this turn. Similar, we have Maze of Ith, target creature, attacking creature becomes tapped, deals no or receives no combat damage, and then we have Mystifying Maze, kind of the little brother of those guys. Exile a creature that's attacking, return it at the beginning of the next end step, and it's tapped under their control. So another way to hopefully keep yourself safe from maybe up to 3 attacking creatures. Some more kind of land drop fix. We have Myriad Landscape. Sacrifice it, search for 2 basic lands that share a type, so it's good in monocolor, maybe dual color if you're like shy on 1 type of mana, for 2 and a tap. So a little slow there, but if you're struggling and you have at least 2 mana in that, you can get back to where you need to be, hopefully. Some utility in the Reliquary Tower. No maximum hand size, of course, is really good. One of the hideaway lands, the Windbrisk Heights. All hideaways, well, not all, are very good.
Exception of 2.
Yes, the black and the blue hideaway are not very good. But the Windbrisk Heights, the Mosswort Bridge, and the Spine Rock Knoll are really good. They're easy to trigger. The whole idea, when this one comes in, it comes in tapped. Look at the top 4, pick one of those, hide it under there. When a condition's met, you can pay and reveal it. This condition here is attack with 3 cards, or 3 creatures in 1 turn. So hopefully you get something cool, get to play it for free if you're patient, and kind of spring the trap there. And then lastly, we have Winding Canyons, another old one from Weatherlight. Adds a colorless mana. You can pay 2 and tap it. Till end of turn, creature cards you play have, like you can play as instants. They have flash, essentially. Really good, similar to, I guess, like the Alchemist Refuge or like a Vedalken Orrery. Of course, you got to pay for it. It is nice because it's a land, though. So just a good add there. So that's the list. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, that sort of thing, just like you do with anything on YouTube. If you found this, check out the Nicol Bolas, the Chandra, and the Nissa deck text as well. We're also going to do a video that shows just the...
Stream.
Yeah, we are going to stream it as well. If you're in the future, or this is done in the past, you're out of luck. But yeah, we will be streaming that as well. We'll show the base game, so we're just going to open the Archenemy, play a game there, see how things go, and then we're going to do our Morph into Commander after that. So a bunch of videos to check out. The other 3 deck techs, the basic gameplay of the Archenemy deck, and then the Morph into Commander gameplay as well. So if you have any comments, let us know. If I got it all wrong, let me know as well. That's pretty typical. So, if you're in the Colorado area in southern Denver, swing by. We play EDH Thursday evenings. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for joining us.